step-by-step SEO training course for 2024. How to SEO JavaScript. In this video session, I'm going to show you basic methods for JavaScript optimization, as well as advanced methods for search engine optimizing JavaScript files. JavaScript files obviously is important for most websites. What we can do, simple methods, is we can minify the JavaScript. So let's imagine this was the JavaScript that was needed on the website. We can use online tools such as JavaScript minifiers and minify the code itself, and then copy that and use that minified version. So that's one method. Then what we can do is reduce HTTP requests by making sure that JavaScript files that's needed for the web page load. Let's imagine you got 5 different JavaScript files. Then ask yourself, okay, can I group them into one file? So that's a great search engine optimization method, because it's going to affect page rendering process. We can use tools available such as Web Developer Toolbar, conduct coverage analysis, filter JavaScript. And here, the first thing that you want to look at is any JavaScript files that shows 100% unused bytes. What that means is when you analyze certain parts of your website, then at times some JavaScript files are not needed for that web page. If that's the case, you want to remove that. Then what else can we do? Well, we can do a lot of things. Now, obviously, to dive deeper into JavaScript optimization is you need to, perhaps learn more about, code optimization in terms of the scope of the code that you create, because you can have global scopes, as in you can declare global scopes as well as local scopes. Now, because JavaScript files can be complex, right? So let's imagine a typical WordPress theme. We may have, let's say, Bootstrap, which is perhaps typical, and that's a complex JavaScript file. That's minified. We've got perhaps unminified one I can show you. Right, so it doesn't matter what type of JavaScript file, most of them are complex. So when you minify it, then you end up removing all these comments. Because comments may be ideal when you're developing the website, but when the website is live, then you want to minify. So that takes care of the comments, as it removes them. But as we've seen, this Bootstrap JavaScript file is rather complex. Now, surely, if the website is developed using Bootstrap or certain libraries, it could be cumbersome to recode the file itself. But if you're developing a website from scratch, perhaps for a client of yours, then there are better coding practices for JavaScript. You can utilize script defer or async loading. So I'll zoom in as to briefly describe what these do. When you're utilizing defer or async attributes on scripts, then you need to triple check different parts of your website and its functionality. Also, each web document that is created, understand the fact that, let's imagine there is a button, and when someone clicks on it, you want your JavaScript code to be executed. Well, if that's the case, if you're building websites from scratch, perhaps you're a theme developer or creating a website for a client, then consider simplifying the HTML structure, because that's going to help JavaScript execution as well. Another insight that I can share with you is this. When you want to truly optimize a JavaScript file, at times when you analyze the code itself, you may say, okay, you know what, there are certain variables or functions. Do you need them on certain parts of your website? In this example, it's to do with testimonials, right? So then you may say, okay, obviously, perhaps your contact page doesn't need these variables or functions. Then you can say, okay, can I, blurt out different code when it's needed instead of loading them everywhere else? And what else can we learn? Excessive nesting and callbacks, obviously that's important. We've looked at deferring and async loading. Okay. Another method is when you're analyzing the coverage tab, depending on the code that you're analyzing, you can see in this example 60% of this JavaScript file is not used. So then it's your job to analyze the code itself, look at the code that's highlighted in red, and triple check, what is that needed? Because coverage tab shows us in color-coded method as the red colored variables in this example is actually not used. But that doesn't mean this code is not called. So you need to test. Perhaps when someone clicks Add to Cart button, these variables may be called upon. Okay? So at the end of the day, you want to group files together, remove unused JavaScript files, utilize script loading for defer and async. You can also conduct performance tests, as in profile the page load itself. Here, using Web Developer Toolbar, you can zoom into certain areas and triple check how the page loads. Okay, let me do something like this. What you want. Okay, we've looked at coverage tab, but now we're looking at performance here. Here, let's imagine we pressed on main. As you can see, for this page to load, there was a little script evaluation. As we can see, that's highlighted in orange in this color. There was another script evaluation, another one, another one, another one. So it's your job then to analyze what type of script was evaluated here, as in calculated. What was calculated here? I know that could sound complex, but if you want to 100% optimize a JavaScript file, these are the tests that must be conducted. Also, time to first byte is important web page metric, so to speak, especially with Google Core Web Vitals. Time to first byte, you can search more about it, as in what script is executed before time to first byte is calculated, so to speak. So at minimum, at least, look at the critical JavaScript code and perhaps only render that, because then you can place the non-critical JavaScript files perhaps towards the end of the document itself. Now, what else can I show you? Okay, Another one is you can use promises. Because when you create the code, you can create, as I've said, global variables. You can create constants. You can create a function which calls another function. It can get quite complex, but at the end of the day, I'm assuming that you understand JavaScript. And the latest techniques then allow you to code better using promises, as in creating promises, waiting for a callback, and then use the then keyword to do something else. So if you're building a website from scratch, then moving forward, you need to utilize the better coding practices, as well as what's available to you as a JavaScript coder. In terms of search engine optimization, almost all websites will have JavaScript. As I've said, you can group the files, you can identify critical JavaScript and load that. You can use defer and async script attributes. You can clean the code, render JavaScript when it's needed only. You can minify JavaScript. Ideally, when you follow these insights and the tools available, such as Web Developer Toolbar, then JavaScript file can be better search engine optimized. I thank you for learning with RankYa, and I'll talk with you in the next video session.